We rolling, first thing to ask. We good, we up? All right, hi, everybody, good morning. This is Bill Candick, Chairman of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. It's 9 a.m. on Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. If you got a phone, make sure it's on silent. And this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and by YouTube. I think YouTube's down here, isn't it?
Yeah.
We got it online. Okay, with that, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Paul, will you do the
Please bow your heads for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today to conduct official business of our wonderful county. We ask that you watch over us and help us make the managerial decisions that need to be made today for the benefit of our county citizens. We ask for your guidance and blessing, not only for today, but for every day forthcoming. We do this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Paul. Okay, roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda?
Here.
Commissioner Epp?
Present.
Commissioner Vogelsong?
Here.
County Attorney Dan Slater?
Here.
BOCC Admin Caitlin Womack?
Here.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Okay, thank you. Audience introduction. Let's start with Bob in the back.
Bob Smith, Human Resources, Risk Management, Custer County. John Mapes, Custer County IT.
Jim Shaplin, Custer citizen.
John.
Gary King, Custer County Workforce Housing Committee.
Robin Canavy, OEM.
James Gilbert.
Okay, anybody else we got online? How many we have online?
We have 2 online, Deb Adams and Stacy Terrell.
Okay, thanks. Okay, any amendments to the agenda?
Yeah, the RFP for voice over IP, gonna move that to June 25th. We found out some more information that we want to put in the RFP, so
Okay, so
we'll put that forth during that Wednesday meeting.
Okay. Anything else from you?
I don't believe so.
What date did you say?
June 25th.
Okay, I have one amendment that we're going to do. The executive session is not going to be held in the executive session. It'll be held in the meeting. So we'll just cross that out, and the personnel matter that we will discuss will be an item, the last item we discuss. Okay, with that, anything else? How about commissioner items from Paul?
No.
Minutes?
Whoops, approval of the minutes. I'm sorry, as I was crossing out the approval of the minutes, I said, Paul, do it. How about the approval of the minutes? Got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 28th, 2025.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, yeah, they look great. Thanks, Kelly.
You're welcome.
And all in favor of approving the May 28th, 2025 minutes, say aye. Lucas.
Aye.
Vogelsong, aye.
Kenda, aye. Now I'll cross it twice. Now, Paul, you got anything to say?
Really, the only thing that came up this week was a fair board meeting. And it seems like we're on track, actually a tiny bit ahead of what needed to be done and everything. And very good meeting. The meeting also included the donated animals to be harvested for donations and everything. So it was a very informative meeting and went very well. And there were everybody but one included at the meeting, one online. It was a very good meeting. All that.
Okay. Lucas.
We had 2 vendors come for the, to do a site visit, and tell us about their proposals for, the IT contract services. So, discussed both of those. We're waiting on some information yet still from a couple of them, so, they'll send that formally to us and then we can review that in the future here. Hopefully get that going maybe around August 1st, I'm hoping, so we'll see how things go and what kind of information we get, but some good proposals, at least verbally, so we'll see what we get written. So That's probably the big thing.
Okay, couple items from me, but I'll remind Paul, we were up in CCI land at Keystone with the CCI counties, Colorado Counties Incorporated meetings where we get together with every county in the state. And it's a great opportunity to get ideas from other counties and build relationships that matter, as well as find out information that we need to know. A couple things that we found out, and Paul can chime in anytime. Just in discussing it, turns out the Fremont County coroner has a new cooler. So our coroner is looking for a cooler, so maybe there's an opportunity to get a deal or to understand what the deals are. Unless he's already got it lined out, I can't
I
remember.
think Brad already got
I think they did too.
something, so.
But more importantly, on the way up, I took a detour up through Denver and then into Keystone. The reason I did is because, as you know, a list came out saying that Custer County was a sanctuary county, which we're not. And the reason we cared about that is because President Trump does not want to fund any federal grants to the municipalities and counties that are. And so we're worrying about our grants, as we've been worrying in the past, on what's going to happen. Let's stop by the Homeland Security and Emergency Management Office in Denver, which is a state office, and talk to Trost, the director. And she's been the PIO for Governor Polis for years, and before that too, she's done a lot of that. And talked to her what they knew from that standpoint, and it turns out it was a good stop, because what she said, I took our resolution up as well, along with us. And then in the meantime, both Paul and Lucas and I have been dealing with our local representatives, Senator Hickenlooper, Pedersen, Representative Pedersen, as well as others, and on our local governments, the state legislatures. So from a state point of view, she said, even though Governor Polis has not declared this a sanctuary state, there's a lot of sanctuary stuff going on, both in the municipalities, and the governor kind of is caught between a hot rock and hard spot too, if you want to call it that, supporting those cities. So anyway, it's going to be hard to convince. How do we convince? She pointed this out. How do we convince, even if there was no list and everybody knew who were the counties that aren't? She said it's going to be hard to guarantee. How do we show that the money is passed through, which is supposed to be through the state, and the counties actually receive all that money, especially in a time where the state has a $10 million shortfall that they're trying to fund too. So that's going to put state grants sort of in, some of that will affect state grants as well. Good news is every county's in the same boat, if you want to call it good news, because it's awful hard to, people can band together and make sure things happen. So that's what's going on. She did take our resolution and sent it forward to her boss, Kevin Klein, the director there, and they'll work that to get where we're going. And I think you guys have had good luck. Lucas, I think you've made contact with Max and others.
Yeah, so I think it was Bennett's office said, well, there is no list anymore, and I don't know whether that's true or not. So that's what
They took the list
that's what
down
we've been
and the
told
list was
and-
dissolved.
don't know. It'd been more transparent, had the list stayed up and our name came off, but
Yeah,
whatever.
and we don't know who put the list up. Nobody's taking credit for it. Where did it come from and why? So,
We think it probably was an AI generated.
Could have been.
In a lot of respects, and because the county adopted a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution a few years ago, I think that may have triggered, there's some speculation that might have triggered just that word sanctuary.
yeah, that's right. That's how it works. They search for keywords. So who knows? Anyway, that was that, but more importantly, we learned a lot of things on other issues in the, and I even attended a tribal legislation meeting because we have a Ute Indian or Navajo Nation up here, and the old Ute Indians were there. They gave their presentation. And it's very interesting to participate, and it gave me some ideas on how we can work with our Navajo Nation. And this isn't a tribe, it's not a nation's land, it's privately owned, and they use it as a business. That Wolf Springs Ranch, Buffalo, and cattle herd is a profit-making business, private, for the Indian nation. And they work with the forest, working with timber conservation and that kind of thing, and trying to teach their kids. Turns out, talking with the leader down there, his name is Sam Diswood, they have the same problem we do. All their kids are doing this. They got their phone up and they're playing in here and their heads down, and they don't know how to shoot a gun or go hunting or cut a tree down or weld or any of that kind of stuff. So that's the good news part of that, is that recently the president came out with a focus on the trades, with grants for that instead of just grants for colleges and that kind of thing, as well as a push on getting the timber industry a boost. We have more trees in the country than we did at the turn of the century, even though we've been harvesting them, and they are a crop. So that was interesting to sit through that. Additionally, our airport is thriving, and we have the diesel tank, it's diesel fuel, it's Jet A, online and pumping. And in fact, crop duster from the San Luis Valley is coming over to do some crop dusting, and is glad to see that the fuel is there to do it, because they can send a truckload of fertilizer or weed killer or whatever they're going to do, and still fuel up here and not have to go back to Alamosa, is where they're based. Yeah, they get that. EMPG grant is being worked. We know that. That's a deal with OEM. We got, well, as you know, almost a third of our counties funded by volunteers and grants. So every county's in that, most every county's in that same boat. What else we do? Wanted to remind everybody, the upcoming Airfest coming up from an airport board. We had the airport board meeting, and Fort Carson's Air Ops, we're going to look into having them do some practice up here with their operations practice that they do with the Guard. Okay, and then we got, Lucas mentioned the fleet management. The CTSI workshop was interesting. As you know from the last meeting and before that, we're looking at shopping coverages, whether CTSI is the right coverage for the workman's comp or not. We can compete it. But we found out there's a lot of things that wouldn't, and if we dropped that insurance and went with somebody else, we lose other support, like a lawyer that they put online for special questions, Dennis Hunt, who's everybody's expert on our CRSs. And there's some other support that they do. So we're going to balance that. We're going to get some bids, and we're going to see what happens.
Provide training also.
Oh yeah, they provide training for lots of things. And then the SCED met. Bad news there is they're in the same boat with everybody. So they're looking at Colorado state funding and private funds. So they're going to have to cut back some of the things that they were going to go work. That's what we learned yesterday. And then the fire suppression ponds are working still. Been working hard with the Rusk fire mitigation ponds. There's 2 of them. Got ready to send the report in, the mitigation report, and it's not, there's a new, according to the CRSs, as they had trouble interpreting, and we got it all lined out. They have a format that says this is the format you'll follow, and these are the items you will include. There's no option, you just fill them out to get it done. So we got to redo that. Also, their kettle camp, I did make contact with them, and that's going to be a lot easier. That pond's been there. It's not hard to describe, and it's been dipping water out of that for years for the fires that have happened in this area at Wetmore. And I think that's it. Brings me up to speed. Anything else? That cue anybody?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, Dan, you're up.
I don't have anything.
How about where is she? She's on the end at?
I don't have anything either.
Okay. Thank you.
She's hiding.
All right, any unfinished business we carry forward?
I don't think so.
Up now is new business on accounts payable, and Lucas, you're on deck.
All right, so I'll go through these quickly as I possibly can on the amounts that were over 5,000 this last time here for AP. Buildings and grounds, the This is a claim, so it's going to our insurance. It's the TA Customs is the vendor. It's for one of the sheriff's vehicles for the 22 F-150 in the amount of $8,170. It's May 25 and June 25th, 1/12 of the DA budget. They didn't send May's invoice till June, so this is for the district attorney. Those two checks were both in the amount of $12,608.49. Emergency dispatch, that's our 911 call center that's combined with Fremont County. We pay those fees quarterly. That's a $48,308.51. Road and Bridge to McFarland Oil for Road and Bridge fuel, $22,505.10. And then Road and Bridge again to Mountain Valley Excavating for road base on Copper Gulch in the amount of $22,800. Custer County Kids Council to Steve Loken for operating expenses in the amount of $6,000. And then Child Welfare to Dreama Ortiz, it's the contract for a CPS, APS supervisor, that contract in the amount of $5,800. And then there was 4 small reimbursements to individuals for mileage, cell phone, diesel for the tractor out at the airport.
Okay, so the bottom line, what month? Date?
So the total amount is $210,964.12.
Effective through,
It'd be through 6/10.
okay, need a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the accounts payable that Commissioner Lucas just reviewed with us.
For the amount of
Yeah. $210,964.20.
20 cents.
12 cents.
12 cents, I should say.
I make that motion.
Second? I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
What was on line?
And aye. Thank you, Lucas.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up, the consulting agreement.
That's you, buddy.
Let me get it, I got it.
Mr. Vogelsong.
You got it.
Sure. It's a consulting agreement between, what is it, Custer County. The assisting agreement, back to the,
Acquisition.
We don't need to read the whole thing.
oh, okay, no, just
No,
read the.
just give, what's it about?
Okay, just do the, I just made a motion. Term of the agreement is, the agreement commences on July the 1st of 2025. The agreement will continue until either party issues in writing the desire to terminate the agreement, at which time the agreement will terminate end of the month.
And that's between who and who?
That is between Custer County and it's Assure, Accusure, it's ACRISURE and Custer County.
Okay. I'll move we approve that. Let's see if we do more discussion. The agreement.
And I'll second.
Okay, comments, Lucas?
Forgot where that.
What are they consulting about? Just out of curiosity.
They're going out for vendors, because so right now we're with CTSI for workman's comp and the county health pool. And this is to RFP out to see if there's something better out there. So they're gonna be our broker and go find different plans for us, different types of plans.
Got it.
CTSI is a broker, and they do the same thing, but they do other services. So we're just looking at the
main
cost.
thing that was nice about this agreement is that, to go with them, is that we actually have more oversight on how workman comp is tracked and implemented and everything else. In the past, we have had issues that carried on and on and on due to some circumstances or whatever, because not going to their doctor meeting and everything, going up there, extending their stay in workman's comp. So what they do is they provide the service of an oversight to make sure that those gates are met and it is over when it reaches that point. That was the main concern that we were looking at.
Thank you. Yeah, the board had issued an RFP a while back, and then at the last meeting, the board awarded basically awarded the contract for the RFP to Acrisure, the contract that resulted from.
Thank you.
Any comments? Anything else?
Online?
Anybody in the room? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of approving the agreement with Acrisure, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Vogelsong, aye?
Kanda, aye.
Good plan.
Okey-doke, contract for ballot printing and mailing services. Who could that be?
I don't know.
Ms. Kill.
So this is my contract with KP Election Services and what they do is once we get the ballot all done and all that, they print the ballots, print the envelopes, insert everything in the envelopes, and then they mail all the ballots out. And we went with them the first time last year, just for the November election because our previous ballot vendor dropped us. And so I just did a contract just for that one election and they did a really fine job. And so this contract will take us through, let's see, 25, 26, through 27.
Were they good? Do you appreciate it?
They were good, yes, they were very good to work with and there was a few hiccups here and there just because we were new working together, but they weren't anything that weren't resolved and
Good.
So, yeah, they were very good.
Glad the other one dropped us.
What's that?
The other company dropped us, good deal.
Yeah, actually, it was a good deal that they dropped us because I was fixing to drop them. I just
Yeah. Saved you being the bad guy.
They won the toss.
Yes,
And I've reviewed the contract, even though this was a contract prepared by them, I will say it's a very
Well, then I'll move to approve the public contract for services with KP LLC, ballot printing and mailing services.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion here?
No.
Anybody out online? No. Okay, hearing none, I'll call for that vote. All in favor, say aye. Paul?
Aye.
Lucas?
Aye.
thank
Kanda,
you.
I'll sign it after the meeting,
Yeah, I've got it.
and I'll sign the agreement, the other agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, next out of chute is the Office of Emergency Management, who's got a deal we can't turn down.
That's true.
What are you doing?
I don't know, we'll see. What you got?
Good
Come on.
morning.
Speak loudly, or you can sit up here.
Yeah, so if you want.
Okay,
People can hear you and see you talking.
okay.
And I think it helps Kelly's mic as well.
Of course, you can do that. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
you're up, Robin.
all right, to facilitate,
Introduce yourself.
hi, I'm Robin Knappy, Office of Emergency Management Director. And I bringing today a opportunity to provide storage to the Office of Emergency Management. As you know, we have a very small closet upstairs. We are filtering over, even with our radio communications.
You're in what building for the
The
record?
SAR building. In the SAR building upstairs, we have 2 offices and a closet. And so the opportunity to purchase an 8x10 gable-style shed for storage of mass care and other Office of Emergency Management supplies, putting it on county property just east of the SAR building. It is a used shed. It's part of a rental program from the Penrose Shed Company, called Colorado Shed Company. I'm sure you've all seen it, right there on the road. And they rent sheds, and then if people bring them back, they then sell them. So it is $3,383.60. And it is 8x10 with a single door. It's nothing fancy, essentially looks like this. It's just a little barn gable style roof. It
Is
does,
Is it wooden, metal, what's it made of?
it's wood, it's it has a little, you'll notice a little square cut out of it. I don't know what they used it for, so it needs a
That's
little,
where the ballots go in.
yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Well, donations.
So that'll have to be fixed, but it's pretty minor. It's a piece of siding there. It is structurally sound, and then it's suggested that we get an anchor set, which is 4 tie downs in each corner.
Screw in.
Screw in, yeah. Yep, and so the other portion of this would be, it does sit in Westcliff, so we would need to apply for a building permit, and that is $375 approximately. And I did ask the question, Bill, about taxes, and I don't think, because it's not a structure that's lived in, that there's a taxing on that, but.
You don't know if there's a tax that we're paying? Okay, and then where's it gonna be located? You said by the building, east on the, in line with the building?
Yes.
And does it need a pad?
It doesn't need a pad. Of course, right now there is weeds. And so I've talked to Vince, although his schedule isn't going to allow us to do that quickly. You know, the paving season and everything else for road and bridge is summertime. So it would be fall until he could gravel the area.
Do you want it gravelled, or should it be, or does it
I
necessarily?
think eventually it should be. We might be able to go ahead and locate the shed and then gravel after.
I'll let you ask the budget questions.
I got a couple of neat things.
It's under 100 square feet, so why are we paying building permit in the town of Westcliff?
I don't know. I just was told by Delonica to
Delana,
to
talk to Wes.
talk to Westcliff, and when I talked to them, she said Dwight would be available next week, and we could talk that through, and I said, well, it's, 8x10, that's just a shed, and so she said essentially it would be the value, a percentage of the value of the shed, so I'll definitely pursue that
So
further.
everybody in Westcliff gets charged for a doghouse?
I don't know, I don't know.
I'll get there.
And I don't know, we do a whole lot for Westcliff. I think they could
Yeah,
do some things for us, but that's a minuscule thing. Where were you planning on taking this out of the budget?
So we do have, this, I believe, is a capital expense. So we have $3,000 in the capital. I don't know if this is capital or not. I need that determination.
It would be.
It is a capital expense, yeah.
Yeah.
So there is $3,791.91 in the capital outlay.
Okay.
And then we are under budget for our repairs and maintenance. So when we do the graveling, that will be blade, because there is a river kind of drainage ditch that comes from Kirkpatrick along SAR. So we want to kind of even that out so we aren't dipping down in and driving
That's a
through
good
there.
reason to do it before she sets it. Blade. Could probably get a blade over there and do that.
That would be
And then
good.
do that first if he doesn't get around to graveling it.
That would be great.
They'll only talk half the load.
Yeah, it's not much.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Lucas, are
You
you,
done?
Yeah, I'm done.
you mentioned quite a few of my questions anyhow already. Are there skids underneath the unit where we can actually move it to put gravel down if it comes before the gravel?
We certainly can do that,
Okay.
Meaning you'll bolt skids to it?
yes.
And then, is there any sensitive material that's gonna be stored in it that, do we need to insulate it to, or do we need to ventilate or anything like that with any kind of
Yeah, what are you gonna store?
chemicals or anything like that?
Fuel. So, possibly, looking at a ventilation,
How much fuel?
just a 10-gallon.
Okay, because there's a 100-gallon limit and you have to
Yeah.
factor it, all that, okay. The other is what type of security, is it just a latch and a lock, or is there a different type in the plan to secure the building?
Well, right now, latch and lock, I mean, the great thing is that we're right there next to the sheriff's office, so, people usually don't bother us. But we can certainly look at additional security if that's what you're.
I was just wondering, because it's real easy to bolt cut and go.
Which way's the drainage off that side of our building? Does it fall into where she's gonna put it?
It's just south.
You know what I'm saying? Is the slope of the roof going that way or?
That's what, I was gonna ask you which way it was gonna face, yeah.
Yeah.
So is it gonna face south with the door, or is it gonna be a different direction?
South with the door, that way that it'll go into that drainage.
Okay.
It's actually a good idea because it melts the ice looking south.
Yeah,
You can get into it.
that's
front of
right.
the door.
Just
The,
like any
the other
driveway.
question I had was, what is the span of delivery time before we might be able to get the gravel down?
He told me fall.
Fall. No, I'm talking about
Now,
the unit.
when can they,
itself.
do they have to deliver it now? Do we have to pay for it now or can we
So
pay
it's
for it, let
30%
it sit there?
down. And it is a used unit, so I'm guessing that someone else might see it over there for that good price. And so we do want to secure the unit, if,
Well, we could buy it and then let it sit there until we get the gravel is the question.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That way we
something
wouldn't
like
have to
that.
Move it. Remove
We don't have to
everything
put
move
skids
it.
on it.
Mhm.
That's all the questions I have.
So you could, got an idea on that?
Whatever you guys wanna do. I think we can probably pick this up with a extend forklift and
Yeah,
move it
yeah.
later. But I think you probably should blade, some material up, at least put it up higher than the surrounding area.
Build like a little lake.
But we're almost, out of monsoon season and into dry season, so by the time we get this, it'll be around
Yeah.
1st of July, and then you probably won't see much rain.
Well, I guess the question, the solution would be you can work it with them, see if you can just deliver it whenever we can get it ready. Ask them
Yeah.
if it's possible to leave it there.
Absolutely.
Pay for it. All right, let's hear a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and accept the proposal RFP on the 10x10 shed that was presented by OEM for the amount of, I wrote that down, $3,000,
283.60,
$383,
283.60,
$283,
60.
$60.
3,383.60.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry.
Okay, I make that motion.
So the order total on my quote here says $3,326.60.
That's-
You said 83.
and where did the 2083?
Oh, I think it's the 180 acres,
Okay.
acre set?
All right,
Yeah, so I don't think we want to leave that out. But that includes a discount of $237.
okay. So I'll second the motion now.
Okay. All right, been moved and seconded to approve the shed per the discussion that Robin had. With the caveat that you're gonna see if we can leave it there for as long as we can and get the blading and the gravel in if we can.
Correct.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Paul?
Public comment?
Oh, public comment, you got anything?
Yes, Regina Foster said that a 20 by 20 storage container is roughly the same size and more space if the long-term goal is maximum storage.
We would love to have a Connex, a 20-foot Connex. This is just an alternate solution. It is smaller, but I don't know if that Connex would be acceptable. I kind of talked to Bill a little bit about that before, and, you know, it's a lot bigger.
And the cost is more,
They're roughly the same price.
Yeah, they're gonna be 3,000, right?
is it? Is an option.
Well, you wouldn't have to
We're
anchor it.
putting it on the Justice Center ground,
We
and
wouldn't have
that's
to
where we're
anchor,
parking the trailers now, so we can keep them out of the way of SAR.
we wouldn't have to anchor it at that cost. It's already set up for security.
True. Good point. You wanna look at that option first?
I'm glad to. I know Brad just bought a
Yeah.
Connex.
Right.
So maybe he has a good vendor.
Do I need to resend?
Is it? Yeah, probably.
No, just take the vote and let it,
Let it, we'll vote.
Take the vote and let people vote no.
Okay,
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
no,
focus on the,
Candidate. All right,
yeah, let's
That
look
was
into the
easy.
Connex.
let's go look at it and, Westcliff, I don't know if is there anything we gotta do with Westcliff on a Connex? They probably wanna paint it some color.
Well, we'll be over the square footage, so
so the
now the
Permit will be more.
permit will be,
So
so.
then we can balance the two options together, probably. Not a bad idea.
Thanks,
Okay.
Reggie.
Yeah, good point.
Another comment.
As another option, the building trades class at the high school could build something very, very similar to that.
Or bigger.
Or bigger, for no cost.
Okay.
And just make that part of the.
Trouble is, that wouldn't be ready until
You're
when
right.
somebody
Fall.
graduates.
Yeah.
be mid-summer before we see it.
But that'd be a good project for them.
Be a
It would
great
be.
Great
partnership.
project.
Yeah.
Okay, or any other points? They're good points.
Thank
You need to look into it and see what they'd say, just for the fun of it.
Good job, teacher.
Okay, anything else on that? We'll move forward.
Just need to find what permits we're running.
Yeah. Okay, next up
Thank you.
is a letter of support for the local planning capacity grant for the Workforce Housing Committee. And I bet I know who's gonna speak to
Speak
that.
on that.
Come on up.
Come on.
Or if you
Sit
wanna
there.
sit there, you can sit there and speak as loud as you can.
So, the background on this, and I think Mr. Cannon would be particularly interested in this. Historically, a hurdle to be able to build affordable or workforce housing has been nobody wanted to own it. None of the jurisdictions were willing to own housing. And so that's a stumbling block, because you can't go get money for something that nobody owns. We have been working on this for quite a while, and we have an arrangement with the Chaffey County Housing Trust to be a fiscal sponsor, interim fiscal sponsor for the county's project up in Silver Cliff, the 12 lots in Silver Cliff that we want to build on. They require, though, that there be an entity local that could be responsible, a credible entity, a local in Custer County that would do the administration for them. And this cropped up. We have a not-for-profit has been offered. It's called the Custer County Community Development Corporation. It is incorporated in Colorado as a not-for-profit. And it has its 501c3 certification already, actually retroactive for a year. But it's just paper currently, and it needs to be peopled. It needs to be brought up to where it's a functional not-for-profit that can own and operate the facility in Silver Cliff, but also anything in the county or Wet Mountain Valley later on, people would want to build affordable housing for a workforce. This not-for-profit can facilitate that. They can be a fiscal sponsor in the future, as well as bring in funding and do things for private development as well. Now, knowing that this was going to take more than a volunteer force to bring this thing up responsibly, we went to DOLA, has a grant group called the Local Planning Capacity Grant expressly for this kind of thing to help small communities comply with their Prop 123 commitments for housing. And so the county isn't a Prop 123 entity, but Silver Cliff and West Cliff both are. So I approached both of them, and we couldn't get the timing worked out with Silver Cliff to be the sponsor, otherwise they would have done that. So we've anchored this with West Cliff, and an application has been made with the local planning grant people. Our application has been accepted as a legitimate application, and the final piece of this, which has to be done right behind the application. The due date was the 30th of May on the application itself. The final piece has to be in by the 18th of June. The final piece is, this is an 80-20 matching grant application. And the grant application is for $100,000 through DOLA, and we look pretty good for this. So it's what's called a multi-jurisdictional application, which means that all 3 jurisdictions in the county are participating in the match. And what we propose to do here is use the $10,000 that we have in our account for workforce housing that has been there for a while for the match from the county. The town of Silver Cliff and West Cliff each will have a $5,000 match. We've already got the letter of commitment from Silver Cliff, the letter of commitment from and resolution to be responsible for this from West Cliff will come at their meeting on the 17th. And I did do a workshop for them so they understood exactly what their obligations are in this. This is a reimbursement style grant, which means that nobody pays anything until we get a bill from a consultant service or something of that order, which the grant is set out to use. That bill comes to West Cliff. West Cliff pays the bill and then sends it in to DOLA, who reimburses them. At the same time, whatever that bill is, say it's $1,000, West Cliff will bill the county and Silver Cliff for their proportion of this match. So it's not a $10,000 lump sum. This will play out over a year or possibly more, and I don't expect to see any invoices until the October timeframe if we get the grant, because of the time cycle it takes to get a DOLA grant contract and all that in place. This is a key thing for the community. This provides the vehicle that we have not had that has kept us from moving forward on this actually for more than a year. We had hoped that Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments would be able to serve this function for us. That ability for them deteriorated over the last year, and it'll be a long time before they're going to be in a position to do this kind of thing in the future. At some time, maybe they will be. In the meantime, they may be able to help us with some things like compliance issues. So the important thing here is that this not-for-profit entity, it has to be a responsible owner. And so one of the reasons we are asking for a grant for this is that compliance is the key thing. Many people are concerned with who's going to live there, who's going to be qualified to live there, what are the rules to keep it from deteriorating and becoming a mess. And that's all got to do with very detailed legalese around compliance. Lease agreements, deed restrictions, we need to carry the deed restriction through permanently on that land, those kinds of things. And this takes expertise that we just don't have here. Bringing the thing up by the bootstraps, going and getting a P.O. box, a bank account, software to satisfy our fiscal sponsor partner with, that's nothing, no problem here. There's 60 not-for-profits in the county that We have that expertise. It's this critical expertise around compliance that I was very concerned about. I did research for the Housing Committee on housing authorities. Statewide, I picked housing authorities that were close to similar for our kind of community, also housing trusts. And I investigated them, I researched them, and among the top things that kept coming up from housing authority executive directors, people like that, was make sure you have your compliance stuff in line before you ever open the door. And I got that time and again. There's issues around fair housing. There's issues around dedicating things to certain kinds of people, like permanent year-round employees, essential workforce, all of those kinds of things. What happens if you're in the workforce and you lose your job? How long do you have to stay there? Those kind of things are sticky legal matters. I want this thing concrete. And it can be done. There are other very good housing authorities in the state and housing trusts in the state that do this now, but they all warn me. This is where you want to make sure you got your ducks in a row. And so I wanted expert opinion, expert consulting services to help bring this up in terms of our bylaws and deed restrictions, that kind of thing. That's why I went for the grant, because it wasn't locally available. This is the closest we've ever been. I've been on this 2.5 years, as you know. This is the closest we've ever been to actually pulling this off. We have a pretty good conceptual plan that I'm ready to go and sit down with the Silver Cliff people. I mean, you guys own the land, and Silver Cliff owns the rules. So we're ready to sit down with them. We did work on it last year to try to bring this into context of use by right, where we're not having to ask for a lot of variances in the project. And it's actually an attractive looking layout. This is not a big, what we want to do in Silver Cliff is not a big apartment complex. It's at most duplexes and single family buildings spread out over that roughly 1.5 acre area. So we need this, and we've had that money set aside for a long time. And this is a direct path to use that money to build workforce housing for county people. We also have the housing needs assessment is coming out. That's another project that was funded and shared with matching grants with the 3 jurisdictions. That's coming out late this month or early in July. That will begin again to give us really good data on what our situation here is. And it's going to be really valuable too for private developers, which is a nice feature of this. As a, for instance, this not-for-profit, if it took a 1% equity in a private development, it could provide dollar for dollar federal income tax deductions for a builder that wanted to contribute some of his expense to the project. So there's ways to attract private development through this that we really couldn't do with a governmental entity. So I'm more than happy to answer questions at this point.
Yeah, let me ask a couple to get this discussion going before we gotta figure out what the motion's about. And the first one is, it's pretty simple, it's couched in here as a letter of support. So all we're doing right now is voting to support this idea, and you're gonna come back with more information on the grant or the people.
The letter of support, but then I gave Commissioner Epp the template that they suggest that you use for the letter of support. It needs to identify why you want to support this. That's easy to do. The letter of support also has to state that you are willing to match, you're willing to participate in the match. And in your case, it would have a line on there for $10,000.
Okay, that would have to be on there, so we would be voting to provide the 10,000 today.
That's correct, or maybe give access to.
Pledge.
Pledge.
Pledge,
Give access
we
to
have
it.
to put it aside, and we're gonna spend the money.
Yeah, well, and it has been aside for a long time.
I know it is.
Again, I want to emphasize that.
But we wouldn't touch it for anything else.
Correct, and it will be an incremental sort of thing. I want to emphasize that. It's not given.
No, I get it, we can do
$10,000
$2 today and 10 tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, the other question is, manage the operations, you kept using that, so what does that company actually do? They become the landlord?
Yes,
And
They're the
they
owners.
they go and fix it when things break and
Or they
hire.
they contract for that service.
And their budget comes from where? Just
Initially, the startup of this not-for-profit comes in part from the grant. Over
Right.
time, then, once they have the first development, at this point, we're calling it the Village at Silver Cliff or something.
whatever it is.
12-lot development. Revenue comes from, to actually get the grants for the development itself, we've got to prove that it's viable, that it has the capacity to pay off. And so some of the revenue will come from rents,
That's what I'm-
from the
So
development
they're gonna,
itself.
and that would be some of the O&M, the operations and management, in other words, the dollars to go hire a plumber to go fix a leak.
Correct.
But it's up front, there's nothing there yet.
Well, that's the
Would we be
upfront.
liable for that?
No, that's one of the values of having a not-for-profit separate. It completely separates.
No, I get that, but they gotta have some money to do it.
Well, there's a little bit of money that is coming from the Custer County Economic Development Council is gonna put some money into this thing to do basic stuff at first. And until we have a grant, until we have the money to do the development, there's really no expense. Once we have the money to do the development, there is $400,000 that's been committed by the county for a long time, the LATCF money. One time it was ARPA money, but it's now LATCF money to this particular project.
Right.
It's shown in the capital stack. We'll have access to that money to use as we build the thing up.
And we'll talk to that in a minute. I hear you. Other question I had was, DOLA, you're involving DOLA somehow. Are you sure they still have the money?
Good point.
Cause what I heard up there in our meetings, DOLA's sucking wind like everybody else.
Yeah, that's true. And then one of the reasons we want to get after this right now is the longer we wait, the narrower this comes. The grants that are being applied for today, they're already funded. The money has been allocated to that. I received yesterday the plans for DOLA's Division of Housing grants for the 25-26 fiscal year, and there is money there. It's going to be very competitive, and that's why we want to get off the ground with this, because every time we turn around, two things happen. One, the grants are more, right now, the DOLA Division of Housing grants, what's on deck being requested is 3.5 times the amount of money that's available.
Right.
So it's extremely competitive, although we have a good case here. The other thing that's happening as time goes on is costs going up. I got one of the building contractors not building contractors, the modular house contractors I have worked with told me that in July because of tariffs, they expect a 9% increase.
Yeah. The other issue would be, we know that the state's got $10 million problem, and they're looking for money from DOLA and from others as well. So I'm not saying we can't go and apply. I'm just saying I hope it works. It could.
Me
We gotta
too.
be prepared if it isn't.
I'd give 2.5 years to this.
Okay.
I hope it works too. I want housing. We're hurting. One of the things that keeps happening here is the turn on small business, particularly during peak season, because they don't have employees. We see businesses start up and fail every year during peak season when they should be flourishing. And it's one of the principal reasons, and earlier housing needs assessments showed this. The newest one, which is formatted specifically to DOLA requirements, you were talking about, you've got to fill in the boxes exactly like they want. This will be one of the first ones in the state that has used the latest DOLA format for housing needs assessment. And it's going to show very clearly that we have an economy built that's partially built on tourism here that we have to be very careful of because you have to have the employees
Steady.
there when you need them.
Yeah. You want to talk to Grant?
So, Barry's got as chairman of this committee, has gotten us as close as we're probably ever going to be at this stage in time unless things radically change.
Right.
There is some builders building and they're building as fast as they can and they can't keep up with the demand. Stacy Terrell just got, something from the Colorado Children's Coalition, and they show us as, 20% increase in our, in addition, of our children, by population. So, of course, we have a small population, so it doesn't take long to get to 20%. But if that would continue, that continues to grow. But, we are seeing, a pretty high birth rate here. There's a lot of young parents here, a lot of young people here.
Nice to keep them.
I see the trend of a lot of young couples are able to work remote and they can go anywhere now. And so, as the big cities do what they do, we start to look a lot more attractive, especially with the internet, and hopefully our broadband program someday gets put in place so we have some redundant fiber. But this is, we didn't want to own it. I think we were very upfront about that. Both towns are upfront with that. So, we're kind of trying to get, a nonprofit up and out of the ground so that we can, so that they can take care of this. And then we can have community members that are on that nonprofit to
Yeah, that's a
control
good-
that and
good
lead
point.
that and.
And who
Be part of
is
that.
that now? Is that nonprofit skeleton? I know there's no
It's a
people, but
skeleton.
who's the leader? Are they live in the county? Do they, some
Yeah.
corporation somewhere else?
I'll answer two pieces of this. The layout that I've been working on is probably 7 to 9 member board, the permanent board of this. And most of the other jurisdictions I've talked to, there's typically either an elected official from each jurisdiction or an appointed person from the elected community to the board. So the elected community has direct input to the board, is part of the board of directors of this thing. And so you do get steerage. You've got a lot of control over this. It's just you're separated, you're insulated from it in the sense of its actions. Right now, this was spun off by the Custer County Economic Development Council, and there's only 2 board members right now, Steve Leswell and Charles Bogle. I spent 2 hours on the phone yesterday with both of them. We're working through moving that to a different leadership, just to really bring it up to speed.
So it's not gonna be them doing it, it's a new board.
No, it'll be a new, it's what we call a founding committee
Okay.
to do this. And that'll be a new group of people. Some of them we've already identified. And I got another meeting with them Thursday to continue on the same thing, because we need to get a bank account open. We need a PO box. I mean, just fundamental things to bring it up. And we need to do this in the July timeframe, because our partner, the Chafee Housing Trust, that's going to be the face of the DOLA housing grant later on, they're going to be an interim fiscal sponsor for us. They have to write a letter of intent to do this for the October opening. That letter of intent has to be filed with DOLA by August 15th. And so we've got to get this finally through their board in the late July timeframe to sew up our contract with them. So that's some of the urgency that you sense here, is we need to move on this.
To have it built by when?
Right now, if everything worked perfect though, which I'm sure it will, if everything worked perfect, I had to move it out almost a year. We're looking at occupancy in late 26, and that's something I want to resonate. That means we're going through another summer, another tourist season here in 25, and another tourist season in 26 without new additional workforce housing. And if we miss these dates, it'll be in 27, and that would just be a shame.
Is that money good from now on?
What?
ARPA, or whatever it's.
The LATCF, yeah, so
Yeah,
far
LATCF
there's no other, federal government hasn't come out with any other, guidelines as to what you can use it for and when it has to be spent, so.
Yeah.
We just keep making our yearly, annual statements and we keep moving on.
Keep keeping it. Okay. Got any questions before you want a motion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Since it started out as Silver Cliff and then went to West Cliff, are they still a joint motion now to go forth with
Yeah,
that, both of them?
they both have their own letters of, I got the one from Buck the other day, the letter from Silver Cliff, they approved, they're on for $5,000. I have a tacit approval from West Cliff, they've got to go through motions, and then they couldn't write their resolution until their next meeting, which is the 17th, which is the day before the final documents have to be submitted. But I believe we have more than enough votes in West Cliff.
But there's still a team of two then putting forth the support for this.
Yeah, they're the
That was
only
my
two
question.
that can actually be considered a filer for these because of their Prop 123. This is exclusively Prop 123 stuff, but any jurisdiction can.
Anybody can volunteer money.
Participant, yeah.
Anybody can give
Right.
money.
Yep,
No, I just wanted to make sure that two of them were still on board.
and it will be West Cliff's administrative responsibility. It will, really, the not-for-profit will support all the administration. I do assure West Cliff that it wasn't gonna fall to their
Right.
clerks, but they will be the focal point of the transfer of money.
Okay, so to be really clear then, we are committing $10,000, not committing to add anything to it unless we get a chance to hear what the board says, and would the county please donate some more money in the future, if that ever came up for some reason, right? We're not committing to $10,000 deal every year.
Oh, no.
And I know that's
I'll
not
come
what
back
it
to
said,
that.
but I'm just making sure.
Going-
Yeah, for
No,
now.
there's no
We'll see what his new resolution is when he comes back.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, and that 10,000 is sitting in that account for the workforce housing,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, good. All right, make a motion. You're the housing guy.
All right, so I'll make a motion to pledge the 10,000 towards the LPC, the local planning capacity grant from DOLA,
And to issue the letter of support.
and issue the letter of support. Thank you, Dan.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, been moved and seconded to issue a letter of support and approve the support for the local planning capacity grant. 10,000.
Correct.
Okay, any other comments from anybody?
Online.
None?
No.
All right, hearing none, I'll call for that vote. All in favor, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Vote us online.
Kanda, aye. All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Baker.
Okay, next up.
So I put HB 25-1247 lodging tax increase just to have a conversation about it with the three of us. Tourism Board, Workforce Housing Committee, and Stacy Terrell with Custer County Kids Council is gonna be talking about this, but, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this that I'm gonna state here going forward, but, so this is a bill that allows the commissioners to vote yea or nay to decide on, we gotta go to Kelly by July 3rd with a decision as to whether we're gonna go to 4%, we're gonna go to 6%, or whatever we're gonna do to increase this lodging tax to go to a ballot initiative. Is it July 3rd?
No, really, you guys, I just need to know that you're gonna move forward with it, and I need ballot language. When I looked at that statute the other day, I believe that we have to, put the ballot language, advertise the ballot language for, I don't remember how long it is, do you know how long? There's a time that you have to put it out there for,
Okay,
and it's a pretty.
before we put it on the ballot.
It's a pretty good time, yes,
Okay.
before we put it on the ballot. I need ballot content by September 3rd.
Okay,
But you need to know if an entity is putting something on the ballot by, isn't it, like August?
It's
something?
August, it's that first week
To
of
make room
August
for
or
it,
something.
basically.
Yeah.
but if we have to advertise that ballot language before you put it on the ballot,
So you're gonna have to have your ballot language. I wish I could remember that.
I don't,
okay, well, we need to, that's
I'll
why
look
I'm,
and see. Yes,
That's why I've got it on the,
Yeah, you're gonna have to have it soon.
so
So what's the numbers you're looking at, Lucas? Are we looking at, what is it now, percentage?
it's
and then what- just for the
2%
record.
now. It's either 3%, 4%, 5%, or 6%. It's whatever we decide we want to put forth in the ballot initiative on the ballot.
Right, and the reason that we think we need more is,
So tourism isn't asking for any more. What this would allow us to do is we can use some for workforce housing. We can use some for kids, for daycare, childcare, and we can, and,
are there things we can't do?
Yes.
Probably.
yeah, there's some
What
things we can't do.
It's easier to say the things that we can do than the
Yeah.
things we can't do.
Because you can't do anything. and then-
Tourism tax is specifically limited to a variety of things, tourism related, but also housing for tourism related workforce, or for other workers in the community, public infrastructure maintenance or improvements, enhancing public safety measures by funding local law enforcement, fire protection, and emergency medical services.
So roads and bridges we could do,
That would be public
or
infrastructure.
trails on the county.
That would be public infrastructure, yes.
Okay. So if we wanted to asphalt a road, we could.
Yeah, if we
Right now,
wanted
we're
to
just
do that.
discussing.
Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't vote on anything today, because it's gotta be by resolution anyway.
Right.
Yeah, we can't do it today, this is a
This is
discussion,
just a- yeah.
so. Somebody's having a good time. Okay,
So yeah, it's just discussion.
just discuss, go ahead.
I just wanted to give you a little context on this. So we researched, and in the last 4 years, the tourism, the 2% tax has been an average worth of about $46,000 a year per point.
Yeah.
Or a little over 90.
So it's 80 because of the two, basically,
Yeah, around
90
90.
because of the 2%. And so you're looking at being able to add $46,000 a year average times however many more points you want to bring in to deal with the infrastructure that we have to need to support the tourism that continues to
Yeah.
expand.
I know that people come to town and they don't really care about the sales tax. They say they're in Westcliff, they can spend an extra $10, they don't even know that, and I get that.
Right.
It's a good thing. Is there a limit that we would push too far and dampen that spirit? I mean, do we know what other towns have done, or counties? Sales tax,
Currently,
because this is, new. They just lightened up on the
Yeah,
tourism
this-
stuff.
Yeah, this is new, because
Yeah.
the 2% was the limit up
That's
until
right.
this year.
Right.
And this law just was adopted, so now it's 6% is the max instead of 2. So we don't have any other cities to look at, or counties or whatever.
Right,
to look at
well,
and see
no,
here's what the impact is.
there is a reference point though, if I may begin.
Go ahead.
There are many other jurisdictions that have a large amount of lodging tax in incremental kinds of ways that they
Like
voted
fees.
locally. Different kinds of this. For instance, Mount Crested Butte, it's 18.8%. Estes Park, it's 5.5%. These are things that they've added locally through a ballot initiative locally. Many places use lodging tax as a source of revenue because it's not hitting the local taxpayer. This is outsiders bringing in
Right.
discretionary income because they're tourists. And so it's a good way to bring in revenue to a county that sees a lot of tourism and without raising other kinds of taxes on the back of the people in the county.
Yeah, sales tax is good for that.
My only input would be is there a list that has the exact things we can do?
Yeah.
It's in the statute.
All right, yeah, that way we can have a little more discussion on what that point should be.
So what do you propose, to come back and give us some thought and get a resolution?
We probably need to have something at least by June 25th.
So you wanna
My
have a
guess is we'll
workshop and
have to
discuss?
figure out exactly what,
I'll figure out that time thing when I get back.
okay,
I'm gonna say it's 3 weeks.
And then we can get together either in an open workshop, or you can just come back with a motion and the next, when it's ready.
yeah.
Okay.
So I probably will be meeting with the three sometime next week, early next
That's a
week.
good idea, just,
Let me know.
But you guys
you
need
need
to,
to talk to the
really
cities too, cause, they have sales taxes on top of that, and so we gotta be careful of what we think. We don't wanna spook anybody off, but that's probably
Yeah.
not,
Don't want to screw
yeah,
I don't.
Deb Adams still.
Yeah, Deb has her.
Deb, go ahead.
Good morning. So we had a tourism board meeting yesterday and we spoke about this. I just want to clarify a few points. One, a accommodation owner, they do get blowback about our taxes. With the 2% plus all the other taxes, we're close to 10%. People who own accommodations are concerned how much this will increase. And I also want to make a comment that you don't want to divide the pie up so much that, oh, road and bridge gets a piece, workforce housing gets a piece, childcare gets a piece, this gets a piece. You have to be limited as to what is going to be funded because we are not a big generator of revenue compared to many other counties. I do have a list. I sent it to Lucas that shows a majority or a large number of DMOs, what their lodging tax rate is, what their total guest tax is. We are concerned as a tourism board that if we raise it too much, it's going to hurt us more than help us. And I also want to make note that to date with our lodging tax revenue compared to last year, we are down $10,000. So our high point that we hit after COVID, we may not be able to sustain that. So don't feel that tourism brings in so much money that we can fund all these different projects. Based on the conversation we had yesterday with Stacy, is that, childcare and workforce housing are the two things that make sense for tourism lodging tax revenue to fund if we increase it. Tourism feels that doubling it from 2 to 4% won't hurt us so much. 6% might hurt us. And if we're too greedy, it's going to end up that we're not going to get the funds that we need even to do marketing for tourism.
Great points, Debbie, thanks. If we did 2, can we up it the next year? Is there a limit on how many times you can?
Ballot initiatives, if I'm not wrong, are every 2 years, not every year.
General election.
Well, every general
Yeah.
election.
So I mean, that could be.
We could do 1% now and then 1%.
Maybe every,
November.
okay, every November.
Okay, that's one way. So that's something to think about when you're getting with the
Yeah,
peoples out there.
okay.
Okay, any other questions on that? Y'all, Jim, you had a question.
Yeah, so far I have heard no discussion with relationship to the value of the county/valley as a tourist attraction. If you think the value of the county and the valley is relatively high, then you should take as much advantage as you can of this opportunity. The back and forth about driving away people that are complaining about taxes, that's not really the market you're after. You're after the people that want the dark skies, that want the valley, that want the mountains, that want to fall off of Crestone Needle, and all of that, and they are gonna pay because they're gonna come a class of people that can pay. So I think the primary consideration you have to be is assigning the value. If you think the value is no more than 2%, then don't try to get the citizens to raise it. But if you think the citizens think that the value of this valley for tourism is higher than that, and you think it is, let's raise it and take the opportunity. Last time we had an opportunity to increase our revenues, you did exactly the opposite thing in a sense, because when all the property values were going up, you dropped the property tax assessment rate rather than leaving it and taking advantage of that financial opportunity. So I think you have one here. The people that I have seen comment regarding the tourism, I do a thing for a STR, all those comments are all about the absolute beauty of the valley, how wonderful is, how peaceful it is. Hummingbirds and deer are mentioned in every comment. And they're all saying they'll come back again.
Yeah.
They come here for a wedding, they see it, they're gonna come back again. So you have an opportunity here to increase the revenue derived from tourism. And I agree with Deb, you can't use it as the end-all be-all to asphalt roads, but you can use it as an increase in revenue.
Okay, thanks for the comment. Let me add to that just real quick, because Debbie brought it up, you did too. Other counties that were thriving have other things that drive, like ski areas or things like that. We don't have that, but we have what you pointed out. And so that's what you have to weigh is what kind of people does that drive, just like Jim said. I agree with you. Barry.
I just, quick tech question for Dan. I gotta get my head around this, Dan. On the ballot initiative, okay?
Referendum technically, okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
It's referred to the people.
well, I'm concerned, that I wanna understand, I know that there's ballot initiative necessary to accept or more money, right? Can the reallocation of that be on the same ballot, or does that take another initiative because of the single subject law?
No, the ballot initiative would include the designation of where that money would go. That's
Okay.
part of the same section.
Good, thank you.
I don't know when we adopted the lodging tax. My reading of the statute is that depending on when we adopted the lodging tax, if we wanted to reallocate the 2% we already had in place, that would take another ballot initiative, referendum, see how I'm doing it.
Yeah,
That was 2006.
Okay.
been a while.
Okay.
And it probably had this, wasn't the ski area at the time, but it was probably different.
And the other thing I would point out is that as I read this, if either of the two municipalities decide to adopt their own lodging tax, our lodging tax goes away as to those municipalities.
Say that again, make it clearer.
We can only impose a lodging tax on municipalities that haven't imposed their own lodging tax.
So if Silver Cliff or West Cliff has it, and we lose that amount.
That amount of people, that nucleus.
Correct.
That's why we like VRBOs.
So is our 2% now on both towns, communities as well? Okay,
Because they don't have one.
okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, they already have jacked it up on their sales tax. They took 1% a couple of years ago. That's on their local sales.
Where's the comments?
A couple comments. The first one is from Bianca Roper. Is there a direct correlation between tourism taxes being increased and tourism declining? And then Deb Adams has a public comment.
Okay. So I'd like that other one. Say that again.
Bianca's?
Yeah.
Is there a direct correlation between tourism taxes being increased and tourism declining?
I've looked for data, and I've seen nothing.
It's hard to say what are their attractions, so you really can't.
Can I respond to that?
Is that Debbie?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't know about the correlation because the 2% lodging tax was established in 2008. In 2022, when there was an opportunity for us to allow funds to be used for something else, tourism declined that just because it was 2%. 2% doesn't go that far. So that is a question that cannot be answered, and we will only know once we increase the lodging tax revenue. Bill and Paul, I'm going to send you this spreadsheet that I have that will show you areas with their lodging tax, their sales tax, their total guest tax, so you can just see what the difference is. And at the moment, lodging tax throughout the state ranges from the low is 1.8 and the high, wouldn't be surprised, Denver 11.75. As far as total guest tax, that ranges anywhere from as low as 3%, the high being 20% total guest tax. That's in Steamboat Springs. I also want to just make a comment that when I stayed at Hotel Polaris in Colorado Springs to spend time with a friend, a room rate that was $180 after taxes and fees ended up being $230. So I spent $50 more for all those taxes and fees. But whoever made the comment, if people want something, they're going to pay it. And so, I had a great time there. It was wonderful. I just want to be cautious that don't rely on tourism tax as a savior for workforce housing, and for kids it can certainly help, but it is not going to be a lot of money, especially if we see a decline. We benefited from COVID. COVID made us discovered. Before COVID, our average revenue for the year for like the past 6 years, so before 2020, was $55,000. And then we were discovered during COVID, and we've been riding a high wave. But it's unknown whether we will be able to keep that wave going. We are doing things to try to not only continue promoting summer, but also to try to promote more visitation for the other half of the year. And we're hoping that with the things we're putting in place, that we will see a difference in our lodging tax revenue.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
Got to get a price on that plane with the banner. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was your idea.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I have one.
And who's the other one?
Stacy has a written comment of $47,000 or 1% can go a long way depending on how it is utilized and managed, and Custer County Kids Council has examples of that.
Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
More likely to Deb online there is that I totally agree that they will pay if they want to come. They're not voters. And so my question would be is, how do we let the citizens of our county know what the benefit is to them having tourism, paying more for tourism? They go, I don't do it. That was my question. Deb, do you hear me? Okay.
So Paul, as you well know, tourism is responsible for marketing. We have a wonderful graphic designer, marketer with Joe's Studio, Shelley Larson. So we would come up with something clever that does make the voters realize that it is not a tax on them. We're basically trying to get the visitors to help our community. So it is all a part of, how do we get that message across to encourage people that this would be a positive thing to do and it won't cost the citizens anything.
It's true.
We just need to be cautious not to be using any county funds or resources to
lobby.
To
advocate
do so, yeah.
a vote in any particular
Right.
manner on any
Right.
particular ballot issue.
Thank you, Deb.
Do you have a quick one, Jim, or did that get
Well,
answered?
I was going to say that
Can make it
somehow you three have to make it clear that this is not a tax on.
Well, that's true, and when when it
citizens.
comes in, absolutely.
It's a tax on the visitors, and from what Dan just said, without saying vote one way or another.
And the referendum has to be
Correct.
that clear.
Jim, I'll
So
be
it's kind of a political
Right.
campaign.
All right.
thank you.
Anything else we need to talk? Is anybody else online?
No.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring it up so we could start the discussion.
Okay, we're ready to move on, and we did scratch the executive session. So let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll discuss the potential action on a personnel matter. Take It's 10:36, good planning, worked out. Okay, up next, we got the potential action on a personnel matter. I'll say a couple things up front. Normally, we would have had the county commissioners and leaders in the county have personnel actions, they manage the workforce, and that's what we do all the time. And personnel actions come up in every division and across the whole county. So normally, a personnel action is confidential. Discussion, discovering the data and those kinds of things. We manage the workforce, leave, vacations, work and all that, and rate our people as well. So after that, we had several things come up on the personnel action with our Director of Planning and Zoning. Our leader for that particular business line is Paul Vogelsong. Paul asked me to put this on the agenda up front here after some research that he's done and others have done as well. So if you would be kind enough, Paul, to take it from here, we'll go. First I need to get you and Bob to make a statement.
Well, I just want to say, I know we said this at the last meeting, Dorothy, but I want to, because this is a different meeting, I feel like I need to do the same advising that I did the last meeting. First of all, reemphasize that although I have done work for planning and zoning, Board of County Commissioners is my client, I'm not giving you legal advice, you're not my client. However, I want to make sure you understand that this was originally scheduled as an executive session, but pursuant to Colorado statute and the open meeting law, you have chosen or have indicated to the HR department that you have chosen that you would rather this be in an open meeting, which is your right. But by doing so, you're essentially waiving confidentiality, whatever rights you might have to have this information not discussed in a public forum and be confidentially discussed. So I want to make sure you still understand that and still want this in an open meeting. Okay, sorry.
Bob, you have anything to add? Okay, so I'll turn it over to the commissioner that is in charge of this line of business. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, I'd like to start out with, after receiving additional information on the concealed carry, I thoroughly reviewed everything, all the inputs, new information, the old information that we had talked about in our other session. And what I found out was that any firearm in possession of an employee of a county on county property, including vehicles, whether on duty or off duty, must be concealed unless such employee is classified as a law enforcement. That new information was off duty and other people putting in comment. And I do not have the names, dates, and everything that were mentioned in the last meeting. So with that review, I make the following motion to remove Dorothy Carlson as Director of Planning and Zoning and terminate her employment with Custer County effective at the close of business today, the 11th day of June, 5 o'clock, 2025. It's my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to remove Dorothy Karsten employment effective today, June 11th, 2025, the end of business, close of business.
5 o'clock.
Okay, any other points?
No, sir.
All in favor?
No, discussion.
Discussion on, that's what I'm
And
asking.
also, the public has a right to discuss, Dorothy has a right to make a statement.
Sure, that's what
Correct.
I'm getting, I'm
So
sorry.
have a vote before we get to that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, good. Now it's the time for discussion. And I would say Dorothy needs to discuss it first.
The only thing that I want to say is that I don't feel comfortable. I don't, you can ask me any questions you want. I'll be truthful with you. But at this point, I fear for my life and the safety of my family, and that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Any other comments up here? Anybody else? Jim?
I just want to question why one of the newspapers in this town had a headline that suggests that Mr. Vogelsong caved and Karsten still stays, and how that affects what's going on here. It strikes me very coincidental that additional information is received from no source given, and the whole thing sounds like it's just a political hatchet job, because that's what's going on.
May I answer?
Sure.
Okay, on that note, the term that the one newspaper said was folded. At that time, at that meeting, I did not have additional information, and especially about the off-duty. And I received information from an elected official, Brad Bosley, that at the impound lot, she was open carry. And I've had other information coming in. I do not have names, addresses, and dates and times. However, open carry was allowed to happen and off duty. And it's the handbook that was signed by 3 commissioners said on or off duty. That is where the additional information came from, and I have a statement to that effect. Yes, sir.
I'd like to comment.
Wait a minute, hold on.
He's the one.
Okay, was that clear?
That's where the addition, it was not the newspaper. I do not use the newspaper for added information.
No, but it was the original complainant that did it multiple times, who has probably a political aim.
All right, that's enough. Go ahead, Dan.
My name's Chester Karsten.
Chester.
Karsten.
Can public comment please speak up? We're having complaints.
Okay.
Yeah, we need a name, stay loud.
Chester Karsten, Dorothy's husband. That day in particular, my wife was in pajama pants with slippers on, and there was no gun in that car. I was there witnessing it. I was talking to BOCC and his, whatever you want to call it. Nobody else was there with weapons other than the deputy sheriff that showed up the day we took the car back. But that's fine. You do what you want to do.
Okay. You said
The
online.
handbook says on or off duty.
She didn't have a gun.
Doesn't, on duty,
Whatever.
on duty,
Go for it.
Okay. No, that's not. Any other?
no?
Okay, there's no other information that
Yeah,
you want?
he's true.
There's others, okay. Anything? Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Paul?
Yay.
Lucas?
Yay.
Kanda? Aye. Okay. And that's the end of that, so next item is additional items of business. There's none that I have.
No, we will, yeah, I guess I'll talk about the RFP. Oh, next week's meeting is Thursday, not Wednesday, at All Aboard in Westcliff. So it's on Thursday. And that'll be
When does
staff
it
reports.
switch? Is it?
It's already switched.
That is the switch itself.
It's that there's a few that are on Thursdays because I've got a conflict for the UOCOG meetings.
So the 19th.
Yes, sir, 19th.
Got any? Okay, so now let's go back here, public comment on something else that may come up. Jim, go ahead, we're gonna limit it to 4 minutes if we can.
4.
We're getting tight, we're tightening up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm the one that took everybody's free speech rights, but.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. First of all, you brought up a couple of things, Mr. Kanda, that you did wonderfully at the Department of Homeland Security, and I find it interesting that such amount of effort was taken to make sure that the county is not on a list which would make us subject to the extortion of state governments by the federal government. It's purely a political extorted process to secure state policy to match the overall unconstitutional, for the most part, policy of the federal government. So I think it's really unfortunate that you see that as a good thing to be happening to get off that list. I would think you'd want to be on that list. Secondly, that resolution you talked about suggested that the sheriff and the county government would support immigration and customs enforcement actions within the county. And I assume that means you would support legal immigration, customs, and enforcement actions within the county, such that if any such raids that have been happening across the country occur in this county, you would not allow ICE agents to come in and deny due process to persons residing in the county at any time, that they would have to follow the constitutional requirements of the First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments. And if they do not, that they would not be allowed to undertake what they're doing. Absent that, then you would be complicit in unconstitutional actions.
Okay, thanks. And you only did that in 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
No, I could have done it a lot longer.
Thanks, sir. All right, thanks for your comment. Anybody else?
May I ask a question?
Be my guest.
So clarification on the gun thing. Any employee that open carries off duty can be fired.
According to our handbook, yes, ma'am.
So you might as well fire half your staff
Right.
For open carry,
for open
Right.
carry.
Does that mean you can't hunt?
I don't know. It's written.
Not openly.
What I'd understood is that it was open carry on an inspection on the septic tank. It wasn't.
that is true, that was
That was the one that I thought that.
that was
that's
the
what-
original one,
And that was an open carry on duty.
correct?
So we already discussed that was an effect on that one. That's what got me on it the last time.
I'll look at it when I get back.
Good point. So we need to work policy, if that's the case. Bottom line is, she was, from what I had from other, which was brought up the last time, she was open carrying on an inspection,
I'm sorry,
on duty, on time, on
on
time.
inspection.
So I'm still good with the action. All right, any other comments? Bob, you got
I was
anything?
gonna say be careful on having additional comment, because that's what Dorothy's issue, and she's not good.
Right, or not. We didn't add anything new. Okay? Got anything?
Nope.
All right, let's adjourn this meeting at 10:49. Thank you. That is, if that's the case, that's